Good morning, good evening, and good day, everyone. This is Craig Whitney. Welcome back to another episode 6 on the Legacy Forge podcast. Today, I have with me a really good friend of mine, Holly Johnson, who's the founder of Be Yours and the Posture Queen. This is where we dive deep into the stories and the systems that build unshakable leaders, and posture. Physical posture takes an unedible important stance because it's not what you think, it's not what you say, but what the body feels and how the body aligns that makes a difference. And something we overlook is our posture, the way we stand, the way we move, the way we sit. It equals the way you show up in life. So, Holly, how are you today?
I'm standing tall.
Standing tall, that's the way. Interesting. So what's on your heart this morning?
What's on my hearts this morning? I've got a few hearts on this morning. I'm excited for being on the podcast. Thanks so much for inviting me along. I really appreciate being able to share a lot of the standing tall sort of concept, the idea that what we do with our posture really presents an image to others. And a lot of people don't fully understand what that means. We think, okay, just put your chest out and look tall and strong. But in actuality, people have been contorting themselves, trying to prove something with some idea of posture rather than being within their integral alignment. And I kind of noticed, as I've been studying all this, how much my alignment made an impression on others through my life, how much my posture actually, led me to amazing opportunities. And honestly, I would say that the posture that we hold is a reflection of our internal state.
Exactly. And it goes beyond of what we're taught in the safety of the workplaces, of the ergonomical setups. It goes beyond that of sitting correctly or standing correctly or lifting correctly. Would you agree to that?
I would say so, because most people make assumptions when they're doing those ergonomics that we have body integrity. But in actuality, a lot of those ergonomics that are set up are not individually based. So you may have someone who does not have integrity of the body, and their ergonomics are going to be very different than somebody who does.
Exactly
right. So
right.
You go to the gym? Yeah?
Yeah, I'll go to the gym.
You go to the gym, right? Maybe you've had your spine checked. Your spine looks good. It's in good condition. You've got good muscular integrity. You're not having hip aches, knee aches, headaches. When it comes down to it, if we've lost that integrity, it affects all our joints. It affects our blood flow. It affects our fascia and our nervous system as a result. And thus our thinking is impacted. So yeah, it has to go past all of that, because we have to really look at the whole of the body to understand if our alignment within ourselves matches in body, mind, and spirit.
And just quickly for the listeners out there, what is fascia? Fascia is a new term even I've come across in the sort of recent months myself.
I love that. Fascia is a membrane that runs through the whole body. So I love to bring the meat conversation in. So vegetarians might not like that very much, right? But even the concept of a fascia on a house, right? It's just this external sort of membrane, right? When you put a little film off the chicken, that's a nice fluid fascia that we often come across. Or, a thicker, gristly bit of steak is like a really thick, congested fascia. But within the body, fascia's everywhere. And if you're Googling it, what's the body look like in fascia? The physical body looks like white, stringy, webbed kind of substance. And it goes around muscles. It goes around muscle fibers within the muscle. It goes around our organs. It's an exciting membrane, more exciting than skin.
So it's like the insulation, so to speak, before the outer layer.
Necessarily insulation, but yeah, I can understand why you might go there. Yeah, fascia is
very cushion.
Yeah, it's a really live membrane. The word just came out of my mouth. Think of it as a road, right? It's a wide expanse of roadworks. So your nervous system flows through it. You have your cellular chemical processes flowing through it. So things get fed through the body through the fascia. Now,
Very interesting.
If it's not coming through the circulatory system, where is it coming from? Right? So fascia is what leads that through the whole body.
Very interesting. Very interesting. For those who haven't met you yet, what led you to become the posture queen?
Well, it started when I was dancing. So I learned ballet from 4, and I did that till I was about 19. And so I had to hold myself in a very, firm posture for that particular modality, we'll call it, that art form that I had. And even though I stopped dancing, it was really hard to let that go. I was sort of used to standing that way. Over the years, everybody would compliment me on my posture. What was interesting is they hadn't noticed how it changed. So my posture had changed because I had stopped dancing and because I had not taken care of my body. Something about the way I held my head and the way I held myself upright, though, seemed to impress people that I had good posture. So how I became posture queen was after I realized how much I damaged my body and had really destroyed my posture over the years. And I worked really diligently to get strength back and to get a return to my proper alignment. Once I discovered that, I started helping everybody else because I just couldn't help myself, pointing out where they looked contorted. So
Very
it
interesting.
kind of comes from a negative space because I'm pointing out, that's not right. That's not right. But it wasn't because I was trying to point out what's not right. It's because I could see the damage it was doing to people. And I can also hear, feel, and sense the effect on people's mindsets.
Ballet is a perfect model for that. I've actually been recently watching a fair bit of ballet. A few friends of mine have learnt ballet in their 40s, and you wouldn't think because of their size they would be able to do it. And evidently they've been able to do it and get on the tips of their toes and fully functionally move around. So it's really good inevitably for your finer joints and those little muscles and those little joints that just go unheard of, those micro joints, but evidently play a bigger role within the master, say, body. Although when you do pull a muscle or a joint, you certainly feel something of that alike because it's generally the finer one that plays up. Yeah, definitely. So what's posture mean to you beyond the physical?
It also means attitude.
I notice you got Garfield there. You Garfield the cat there with you?
Tony, yeah. He's too fierce to be a Garfield. Yeah. He gets a pretty evil face. Yeah. You get the evil face on and then he goes in for the attack. He very much likes to sit on my lap when I'm sitting here and cover me with his fur. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Posture is really like an attitude as well. Because if you think about it, if you're in a very positive attitude, you have a more upright posture. You are more moving forward with your posture. And people who have a different attitude, maybe it's angry or sad or, it's some sort of unsettled feeling, that posture starts to shift and change. Shoulders roll in, heads down, a lot of people looking down when they're feeling down. So the attitude of a person is going to really dictate the posture in a lot of ways.
Exactly. And notice when you look down, we'll use a neurolinguistic programming term here. We are conditioned to look down. And when we look down into the feeling side of our body. And when we're looking to learn something particular, we learn from a feeling state. And it actually makes it much more complicated rather than adjusting our posture up, have something above us to be able to take that information in from a visual cue type thing. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Either a visual recall or a visual construct. Visual construct where we tend to construct, so where we take in new things, memorize speeches, memorize words, memorize language from a posture, so that's looking up. And then we look to another angle, visual recall, where we're dialing into our memory of recalling the situation. It's really interesting when you look at the physical posture of how we can adjust our body to adjust our inputs and outputs and attitudes of the way we learn and communicate. Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because very much this down look is an internalization, right? And it's looking into darkness, so to speak. When you're looking up, because you're looking towards light, you are starting to see and notice things more, right? You shine the light on things. So you shine the light on what you know, you shine the light on what you can put together. And now you can find solutions to whatever that problem is, or find a pathway through pain.
Find a pathway through pain, find a pathway on how we learn, because 70% of our learning styles or classroom scenarios are set for a kinesthetic these days, or not kinesthetic, I should say visual.
Yeah, visual.
Hence, while we're conditioned to be kinesthetic, notice looking at devices, looking down. When we're taught to read a book, we're taught to look down, look at a computer screen or an iPad. I think they use iPads these days in classrooms. Look down, so we're forever in that posture of looking down in that darkness, when really we should be tapping into the visual mind and looking either at the horizon of the line of sight or above. Yeah? Would that be fair to say? Yeah?
Yeah. And interesting that you said that, because of the technology that we're using all the time. Unlike books, we don't move as much. So with a book, you're scanning a page and you have little movements of reading the page and turning the head. And with a tablet or a phone, that's more limited. You're just scanning with eyes, and you might just stare, right? So you blink less, you move less, you're taking less breaks. Yeah. Turning pages is a way of taking a break. You might scan a room and come back into the book. How many times are people scanning a room when they're really focused on some content, right? They're
exactly right.
Really stuck in. And so that actually has an impact on the neck, the nervous system, because your head could be forward, your head could be looking down in a way that's way worse than anything we would have done in the past.
And you notice when we're walking out on the street, particularly the lunch break in the city or something, and everyone's looking down like that. And for all the audio listeners here, I'm just standing with my phone in my hand, looking down, looking at it. So from a physical sense, I'm tapping myself into my emotional side consistently. And then we wonder why we are feeling an emotional wreck every day for our jobs. We're coming home emotionally drained, physically drained, mentally drained, and our attitudes are, for the better word, up to shit towards our family. Yeah. If we change the posture, for example, now for our viewers, if I go from down here to up here to my left, which would be to your right, looking at me, I'm now taking the information in, changing my posture from a different angle. Now that would obviously look really weird out on the street to do that. However, I've seen it done with a few people in their FaceTimes, and it looks pretty cool. And you can notice the attitude difference and the communication styles. It's really interesting. And it's the same with an old school book. You put a book up here like that and you read like that. Your studies have shown you'll take information in, change your posture. Mike, from a visual recall to a visual construct against slouching like that, reading down. We're diving deep into the emotional side of things. Yeah. And for my auditory listeners, those just listening in the car or got the iPods in on the run, just looking down. So simply just, instead of looking down, look up.
So can I add to that, Craig? Because we don't want to overstress our spine. Yeah, that is the housing for the central nervous system. And if people don't know what the central nervous system is, think of it as the ultimate processor. It runs everything. So if we rip the processor apart, the function goes away, right? As we're looking down and looking way up, we're really bending into our neck, and we can be weakening the muscles that hold the vertebra together, putting pressure in the discs, which actually causes a lot of degeneration. So I do remind people when they're holding their phone, looking up is okay because we're doing a different movement. But if we're going to hold it for a long time, it's good to rest your elbow into your hand, cross body, to support the phone. And that brings it more to your eyes. Now that actually allows the head to be more aligned, so you're still in a better posture. But I know when I'm on videos or I'm taking videos of myself, I raise the phone up because it's a flattering look, right? It makes you look more thin and light. And it can give all those good benefits about attitudes, perceptions, the way we process and take in information. When we're using our phone all the time, it's better to be more at eye level and allowing the head to be neutral to give your spine a bit of a rest. And the difference is these units weigh kind of a little bit less than books. You know, I would read 400-page books and they're hardcover, so they weigh a little bit more than my phone. So a lot of people who have tablets or phones don't have to hold something heavy as long, and thus they're not going to be so interested in moving around. Whereas with a book, I would be moving around a lot. I get tired of holding this heavy thing like that. And I do lift it up and I do lay back and I do, hold it in different positions so we can get the benefits of the learning. And I don't always think that it's just about where the eyes look, but also where the spine is bent.
Yeah. Would you agree that the way people carry themselves is a mirror on how they think or feel about themselves?
Absolutely. And in fact, sometimes the way they carry themselves is a reflection of others and the way others think and feel about themselves, because you are my mirror, right? So we get ourselves into a type of rapport. If my attitude is positive and good, but I'm around, excuse me, I've got a tickle, a group of people who's not feeling that way. If I want to get in rapport with them, which I unconsciously do, I start to shift my posture, right? So if you think about being in a boardroom and everybody's posture is back like this, everybody's going to do it, right? And that can be okay for a moment, but someone eventually is going to shift and change. And depending on the mood of the room, we're all going to shift and change with that mood.
Exactly right. Yeah. So what was the moment that forged your mission when you realized posture was more than just a movement? You did mention ballet dancing earlier. What else attributed to that?
I think really that comes back to my grandfather, because my grandfather did a Carnegie course and he was really about mindset and understanding these things. So I grew up with that. And I was always told that's going to tell more about me than what I'm saying. So it was something that was always with me. And even in my darkest moments where, yes, I did succumb to those postures, I still knew that that said something about me that may not be what I want people to know.
Exactly right. Now, you and I both talk about the word of alignment in our worlds. What does misalignment look like physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
Sure. Wow, I wish I could actually show people a really good physical misalignment because it looks really funny. There are people who stand, and I used to do this as well, pushing the hips forward, right? Thrusting the hips forward. They don't feel like they're thrusting the hips forward because they've got these rounded shoulders. So when we have our shoulders back and our hips forward, it feels full on. But once we round the shoulders and curve the back, it sort of feels like everything is in alignment, but it's not. It's rather alien looking. You have this head and this round back and these hips and the way the legs are standing. We start looking really contorted. Now, in our mindset, that's also a reflection. When we stand like that, the way that we see the world around us can be contorted too. So it can actually really help us miss what we could be learning or understanding, or help us actually see, I guess help isn't the right word, prevent us from learning and prevent us from actually understanding ourselves and our own emotional states better.
Mm. So what do you notice happens when someone's energy or confidence is out of alignment?
A lot of misunderstanding, a lot of negation, right? If you're saying you can do something, they're going to say you can't. Disbelief. So I would say a lot of personal beliefs become twisted in what they think is right and wrong or what is or isn't. Self-worth. I think self-worth really takes the biggest hit.
Self-worth. Quite a deep scenario there. Have you ever seen someone's posture change after they finally let go of something heavy, dark, construed, maybe a belief, a fear, or even a false identity?
Yeah. I've seen some people go through some breakthroughs, and it's like they're shaking off some sort of weight from their shoulders. And when they shake that off, their posture lightens, they stand a little taller, things are a little more open. If they've been in a misaligned physical posture and have developed scoliosis and things like that, there's only so much they can do to change. But once the muscles and fascia has eased, the body just shifts that little bit that makes them feel brighter and lighter.
Brighter and lighter. Now, I talk about drift as the gap between the public self and the private self. How does posture reveal the gap in someone's life?
Well, I would say what you said previously. It's the concept of when you shift your posture and you're looking up, it's creating an opportunity to see things differently. So in that respect, ideas come in, beliefs start to be challenged to what they really want from what we were thinking before. So in that respect, the posture can actually make a big difference in how they want to move in life. If they want to move forward in a business, or they want to move forward in a, athleticism of some kind, family makes a big difference with family, right? So
yeah.
We can have a staunch posture. It's really strong and, domineering because of the way we push ourselves out there. But when we relax into our standing, confident posture, it puts everyone at peace. So your family's more at peace. It's a more friendly way of approaching people.
Definitely. Posture certainly plays an important role, and it also gives off a lot of the energy at the time, the energetics. Why do you think as leaders we tolerate being misaligned for so long before?
That's a good question. Ego. Yeah, I really think it's ego-based. I think we get so caught up in what feels good and then what looks good, that when things don't feel good or look good, we push it aside, right? The ego says, let's find something that keeps this maintained. Let's maintain this feeling in what we see. And so as long as it's not hurting somebody else, or you're not really destroying something around your life, it just looks like everything's okay. What eventually happens is it eats away. And the eating away is where leaders then go into midlife crisis, or find the relationship falls apart, or, the kids are acting up too much, or business just isn't reaching that success level. Mm-hmm. And when it ultimately comes back to the person, they start noticing their own ego really got in the way. Taking responsibility, like that's my favorite word.
Taking responsibility and taking ownership of our stuff.
Yeah.
And can you feel when ego or something comes up in the body? Does it have a physical form within the body when you're doing your posture work in clinic?
Yeah, I think it does. I don't always catch it in the moment, but I do eventually catch it. I'd say because I work on people and in a physical way, I'm working on their bodies, right? And I get so excited about sharing my knowledge, or sharing, something that could help them. My ego gets in the way from seeing whether or not they're receptive, whether they want that, whether they need that. It doesn't matter what I think, because it's about where they are. And so if I get too caught up in that, I have to check myself. Now that's where I have to step back and start changing the way I communicate.
Exactly. And it's important. Now, for clarification, there's nothing wrong with having a strong ego. A strong, healthy ego is important for us to progress in life. However, there's also that toxic ego which takes us down in life. It kills us. It's important to live the life, as Robert Dilts has quoted many, many times over the years, in our life within our soul. And it's when we live from and bring the energy from our soul, we can then rebalance the ego and then help others who choose so rebalance their ego and step into that soul. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that is pretty fair. I like that you said balance our ego and help others with theirs. The biggest point of difference is helping them when they're ready, understanding how to ask the questions and find out when they're ready for that information. Because sometimes people are not receptive. And I mean, they're not receptive even to your questions. It's kind of like they're just sitting there going, just give me everything. And then the result of that is they didn't set boundaries. They didn't even recognize their own limits. And we have to be even more refined to understand. I love, you got that, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I always say that drift doesn't crash you all at once. It slowly leaks you. And I guess doing physical body work, the leaks come out in all sorts of ways and shapes and forms within the body. And hearing you, Holly, it sounds like posture is one of the first leaks, or the primary leaks. Yeah, would that be fair to say?
Well, it's very hard to say if it's the first or primary, but I would say if you were to look at the way we want to transform ourselves from where we are and where we want to be, it has to be included. Yeah?
Exactly.
Because in the end, if your body is a bit broken, how is it you're going to manage all the discomfort and pain of a broken body so that you can actually focus all your energy on what you're trying to build and grow? So I see some people and I can tell they're not healthy. You can see it in the quality of skin and their eyes. Yeah, they may have some added weight. at the end of the day, it's not about just having added weight. It's what is it doing to your body? What is it that created that? And that right there is having an impact on your spine. It's having an impact on your overall posture because your attitude is always covered with this self-worth glaze that you know you're not doing the right thing for yourself.
Exactly. And drift always cashes in. It sends the invoice and it always cashes in. It pays. Whether you pay it yourself or it pays itself. It cashes in at the end of the day, and it's a small, uncompromisable actions, behaviors that are left unchecked that slowly add up to the total over time. Those little could be something verbal, but not keeping your word, skipping a workout, eating incorrectly, doing something physically incorrectly, even not following manual handling procedures and going off course there, incorrectly lifting something that I see many, many times on a day-to-day basis in my role. People doing back injuries and stuff for not following procedure. Those little I'll get that word right, incompromisable actions that slowly add up over time. And this is where people there's a communication error within the brain that we drift off. It's like a bill. We just flick it to the side for the month until it's due. Well, the invoice slowly adds up over and over and over until such a time it decides to cash in. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
And it always does.
You brought to mind my drift was how I let my body go and I didn't look after myself properly. I had an initial idea that was detrimental that over the years I never quite resolved. When I finally resolved it, it was at a time that I could then start to see and feel what was going on. So the cashing in was a breakdown of my joints in my shoulder and my hip. I couldn't pick up my kids. I couldn't hang my laundry. I couldn't even put my clothes on properly. So for me, that cashing in was, you can't use your body. You're really you're not even 40 yet and you're already broken down. Right.
Wow.
So physically, that was going on with me. Emotionally, I was still a train wreck with my hormones and, emotional states. I have 2 children that I have to bring up and teach them in a good way. And I'm going through, strife with my ex, right? So it all comes together. You don't think that they're all connected, but once I started finding healing for my body, I started finding healing for my state. I started finding healing for my emotional and my hormones. And what a shift that was.
Once that shift took place, transformation took place, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So moving through that, what's one simple practice people or our viewers can use right now to reset their posture and their presence?
Squeezing muscles. I'd say right now, if you pull your belly in towards your spine and just feel that tension of pulling the belly in, you're activating some core muscles. Naturally, you might even be noticing a feeling of squeezing your glutes. So your bum gets a bit tighter and you feel a bit of squeeze. Some people are going to have some serious posterior tilt or anterior tilt. So that's where the pelvis is tilted forward or back. And that starts to adjust. So once you adjust that, you have a better posture automatically. Those who have really rounded shoulders, and there are people who are just weak in the shoulders and they have to consciously pull them open. That's going to be a little bit more tension. It might be hard to hold if there's weakness there. So I tell people, squeeze, just feel the squeeze, pull your elbows all the way back, pull those shoulders back, tighten those muscles, start waking up those muscles in the nervous system because all those muscle squeezes are waking things up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just like everything in moderation, you don't squeeze and hold forever.
It's simple little practices on a day-to-day basis that we can take into our habits. I mean, I notice in workplaces, like here at home, whenever I do stuff, I'm recording videos, for instance, I'm always standing. In meetings, I look at standing. It depends on the meeting, of course, but majority of the time I'm standing because it's a different energy to actually sitting down. For me, I feel more grounded. I feel more present. My body's more in flow, more expressive. I just feel grounded, hence sitting and being, curled up. Yeah, so squeezing the muscles on a day-to-day basis is
Feel
certainly
the tight.
yeah. We talk about embodiment a lot, and it can be a term that's often thrown around a bit from a marketing perspective. How does somebody embody who they want to become?
Start in the mirror. Really, start looking at yourself in the mirror. Look into your eyes. Yeah? You start noticing how it feels to say something ugly to yourself, and you do feel it through the body. And there are people who are going to be really, really caught in a dark space, and it's very hard to get out of that. So when they start trying to say something nice to themselves, the feeling in the body rejects it. Yeah, it's not comfortable. It's not what they're used to. It's not their safe feeling, and it can really stir up. So yeah, looking in the mirror, I think, is a really great opportunity, because there you start to notice your posture. You start to notice, how things look in that mirror. And when you start changing your postures and you start thinking the positive things about what you would look like if you truly loved yourself, what would you look like if you were truly a successful person that has everything they ever wanted and needed, the body will change. And so,
Exactly.
the idea of embodiment is really taking on the feeling, owning the feeling, owning the concept as if it's now, as if it's real, and you have it today. And we can do that without a mirror, but some of us need that mirror. We need to see ourselves for who we really are.
It's even like a posture is seen as a form of communication, really, in self-leadership, would you say? Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, cool. Now, I've often told my clients and quoted many times in my work, you don't perform excellence, you become it. How does that show up in your work?
Yeah, I think that shows up the same. There is an element of do it until you become it, and that's a clumsy process of trying to become it, right? But in actually doing a change of posture, we're already feeling better about ourselves. We're already opening the doorways to the body actually accepting new opportunities, or love or joy. So it doesn't matter how clumsy it looks at first, the continuation of doing it creates the outcome you're really looking for.
So would you say taking on a posture of act as if?
Yes. So the attitude of acting as if, as I said, looking in the mirror and going, oh, I'm going to stand tall. I'm going to feel my shoulders really in this picture. I'm going to feel my feet grounded. I'm going to notice, hey, she mentioned something about pelvic tilt. What's going on there? Am I thrusting my hips forward? Am I pushing my hips back? Maybe I put that all in alignment. I start looking a little bit more like that model, or looking a little more like that person that I know that I really admire. And you start recognizing how to be that in yourself.
Exactly. Now, do you do the role practice of breath and nervous system regulation within your work?
So do I do breath work?
Yeah, do you encourage the role of breath and nervous system regulation within your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
get my clients to breathe with the work that I do, because even though what I do, it's called spinal practic, is a massage, it really doesn't work the way massage works, right? We're getting straight to the cause of where a problem is, and we're helping the body with what it's already trying to do. Now, a healing process hurts. I just want to say that right from the beginning. You cut your finger, it hurts until it's fully healed. So the process of the healing does not feel good. And so when I'm helping people, we're really touching the body in places where it's going to hurt, where it's going to send some sort of intensity to the brain, to the body, to indicate how important it is to bring blood here. And that right there is something we can really regulate with breath. And what I actually find is a lot of people breathe up, they don't get a full breath. And I used to do the same. So I teach people how to breathe down deep into the lung, trying to expand the diaphragm more and help release any fascial restrictions in the diaphragm to make that easier. It's amazing how many people hold emotion right into their diaphragm. Yeah. There's a lot of like negative emotion right there. And the tighter and more locked it gets, the more that negative emotion just sits there. So of course they're not going to breathe very deeply. because it's going to hurt.
Yeah. They call it chest breathing. Now, I'm come from a bit of a music world myself, in the musicians, and been around vocalist training a lot, particularly in the heavy rock metal scene. Vocalist trainers can tell where someone's singing from their chest and from someone who's singing from their gut, because it's two different energy. And you can tell generally, the coaches can tell generally the vocalists who are singing from their chests are carrying something. They're certainly carrying something. There's that energy, there's that aura. It sounds exhausted, it sounds tethered, it sounds worn. Whether they tap into their gut or their lower belly and they bring that energy from that lower gut, it's like full expression.
Right.
They bring that energy, right? Yeah.
Right.
It shows up. It certainly shows up in the difference of breath on the impact. Certainly agree there.
Yeah, for sure. And breakthroughs, people with deep breathing start bringing out those emotions. The oxygen is flooding the body. The nervous system is now getting more activated. So anything that we're storing in the body, which we are, is likely to start shifting and moving.
Exactly. Now, for someone who's in the thick of it, you're a parent, you had a couple of young fellows coming through the ranks, or even the leader on the verge of burnout, parental pressure. How do they begin to stand tall again? They're in the thick of it. Well, how would
as a parent, how I help kids do that?
Yeah. How do you begin again when you're under pressure?
Okay, just want to get context here. You're talking about as a parent.
Yeah.
For someone in the stresses, or as a parent trying to help kids.
Okay. For someone in the thick of it, just for clarification, for someone in the thick of it, it could be a leader burning out. It could be the parent under pressure. Now, I know you got a couple of teenagers coming up through the ranks. How would you begin to stand tall again?
Well, it's about getting in the emotional body. Really tapping into where some of that nasty feeling sits. Yeah. You might be having digestion issues. You might be getting aches and pains. You might be feeling, a heavy weight somewhere in the body or all through the body. I'd say when we're in the thick of it, we get too caught in the mind. We really forget about the heart, right? And the concept of heart and feeling has to be connected for that integral alignment. And I'm sure a lot of people think about it really deeply. What is it like when somebody's always thinking and talking about what they do and who they are, but never really talk about how they feel or what feelings come out that could be beneficial? There's a loss and a break of connection there. And so as a leader, you want to be really connected to your heart and mind. And so I personally found the more I lead by heart, check in with mind, and follow the lead of what my heart and my feeling body says, I find more success. So I find my way through it when I start feeling my way through it.
Exactly. Just for context and clarity here for our viewers here, it's been quite a repetitive theme across these episodes. And it's been mentioned of getting out of our head, because the conscious head, the cognitive side, the noise, the fuzz, the static, that TV screen with no connected channel, that we get out of our heads and we connect with our hearts. And that's when, for the better term, magic happens. That's when transformation takes place. That's where the groundedness takes action. Yeah, would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. Are you a believer that men have boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We just don't like being put into boxes.
Yeah, you don't like being put in the boxes. That's right. But men put themselves in boxes. They store knowledge in their little boxes, right? When they connect to heart, that connection comes through. It's the joining of the boxes together. It's the way of transferring information through. And I've heard some people will say they are men. The female brain is this chaotic brain. There's no boxes. It's wires everywhere. Maybe that is true. But I honestly think that we have our own boxes. You just don't notice them because we have so much connectedness through them. We can migrate into a deep box and hide there. Yeah, we can just retreat right back into our own little nothing box. But the heart-centeredness of women is, I guess, a little bit stronger in its natural state. and learning to bring the heart centeredness into a very cerebral person doesn't create chaos. It creates connection.
Yeah. I look at the feminine energy as the creative force, and a very grounding and a centered creative force. Where the masculine, or my energy, is I'm very structured and regimented. I know with my partner, my beautiful partner Marina, she is a classic example of that feminine energy who just brings the moment on me, and I have to adapt in the moment and dance with her. And it's when we connect with our hearts thoroughly, which we do on a regular basis, that's when the energies come together and magic happens.
Yeah.
The boxes, I come out of my little box of living in a calendar and a routine and a schedule, and I just go for the flow. And she's totally in the moment. Doesn't have a diary, doesn't believe in schedules. The typical Brazilian, just jump on a plane and go for it. Just in that moment. But we've learned to adapt that energies. I build upon the masculine and the feminine. There's a base there, but there's more to that context, where the feminine's the creative, or that creative chaotic flow storm is what's been taught in the circles, and the masculine is some sort of regimented structure. There's more to that conversation, obviously, around that. However, it's when we get out of the heads, both feminine and masculine, and into our hearts, that's when the energetics or the spiral of it can really take place. Yeah, would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And you really pointed out something inadvertently, because what you're talking about is parts. The part of us that's feminine, the part of us that's masculine, the part of our relationship that's feminine or masculine. And we start taking apart ourselves, or taking apart our relationship, we really miss the bigger picture, and we miss the core, or the foundation of what I guess is life, is love, is the being. And I like to bring that holistic perspective to my clients as well, because it's not just about the shoulder. It's not just about the neck. It's not just about the posture. It's about the whole picture. If we're not looking at where do you need help the most, and where else do you need help, so that if you solve that, it doesn't become a problem again, then you're really missing a big element to a whole transformation.
Exactly. So we tie our posture and purpose, which entails self-leadership. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, we definitely do. Mm-hmm.
So, Holly, you teach people to be yours. What does the phrase mean in the context of leadership and legacy?
Sure. It means be your own ultimate responsible or resolve solution. Right? I said responsible self or resolve solution. The same, it's be yours. Because ultimately I can come to you and say, hey, I'm really stuck here. I need your help, Craig. Can you help me just see this a little bit differently? That's me being responsible to say, hey, I'm not finding a solution, and I'd rather not loop into the negativity of how bad I am because I can't think of the solution. I'm taking responsibility to reach out to someone and say, hey, can you give me some help here? In the same token, if I were to come to you all the time, I'm not taking responsibility of recognizing my own gifts and strengths and what I've learned, right? So it's taking responsibility to understand when you need help, and that you're doing everything you can for yourself, and you're trying every avenue to find a solution and finding those who can help you complete whatever that is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how do you help people reconnect with who they really are underneath the performance and the perfectionism of that?
Well, we ask questions that get right to their foundation. Yeah. The questions that help them see their core or see their foundation for themselves. Yeah. They have resources. You have resources. I have resources. Where are those resources hidden? And if we can ask questions that help them find their resources, that empowers them to be able to find the solution they need.
Brilliant.
It's like if you're trying to build a house and you're missing a hammer, where'd the hammer go?
Yeah. Now, if we were to translate posture into leadership, what does standing tall in your legacy look like? Where we bring yours being yours or being your authentic self and the posture queen into place.
Now, this is where I think it could be a little tricky for people. Have you ever seen Atlas holding the world on his shoulders? Yeah? Well, we don't have to be that person. Our posture does not have to be that we have a load on our shoulders and we're so strong to hold it. Think of it more like the, what's it called? With the levels, holding a bar and you've got a basket on each side.
Oh, it's a set of scales, isn't it?
The scales, yeah.
Yeah.
Think of it like a scale. Yeah. You carry so much knowledge, so much experience. You carry so much wisdom. And we're gaining it all the time. If in our emotional and intellectual scale system, we're weighing down too much in some way that we're not balancing it with the support and, awareness and responsibility, then yeah, we're going to work out of balance. Our posture is going to be out of balance. So ultimately it's about understanding how we can get rid of things that don't serve us. So we're not overwhelmed ourselves. Our cup isn't overflowing with negativity, right? And being able to feed ourselves the resourceful things that help us in our journey. And sometimes unearthing the resources is because it's buried under a whole bunch of yucky stuff. So, I guess in that respect, our posture is a really good way of helping us shed things we don't need and lift up, carry out the resourcefulness that we have inside.
Resourcefulness is certainly important to have, particularly, moving forwards and growth and transformation. So what's your vision for the Posture Queen and Be Yours in the next decade? How do you see it impacting the next generation of leaders?
Wow, I really see leadership becoming more aligned with their internal frequency and the frequency of what we are creating here. The concept that we find that alignment, we find that frequency alignment within ourselves. And now we can better mirror that for others and see that reflected back upon us. And the more that we can all share a positive, responsible, functional frequency, the more we're going to lift up leadership, and we'll have less toxic ego, less, negative mindset that can seep in over the years, because we have more resourcefulness with a whole network of people that are used to that.
Yeah, more resourcefulness, more network, bigger network. We raise our energy vibrations. We attract new opportunities. We attract new people into our lives. The growth's just, it's transformational and it's infinite.
It is.
Yeah,
and really, I find that the pathway to that is giving. How's it feel to give something to someone and see them smile, see them light up? So the gift of giving is really the pathway for us to do that. And what I'm creating with Be Yours is the opportunity for us to give our gifts in a way that's going to help create that future, right? If I can talk to somebody in desperation and get them through their desperation to find resources, and all of a sudden they let go of that phone and they said, wow, I went and did this. I didn't even think about doing that, but I did this and it created such impact. For me, that's a beautiful gift, right? And that's rewarding in itself. Now, if I were to get somebody on a phone call who's in that space and they say, wow, I need more of this. That helped me get through today, but I have bigger goals and visions, and I'm not sure I have the resources to get those bigger goals and visions. I want to work with you some more. It's now opened the door for me to work with clients more, one-on-one, or add them to my group coaching or whatever it is. And so that's opening an opportunity doorway as well. So looking at building helpline, for which we have many coaches with many different gifts, being able to contribute in a giving way that's truly benefiting our community, trying to help our community get that resolve, and still opening doorways for all of us to be able to work with people so that we can create that beautiful community that we want.
Exactly. I also sense a lot of gratitude within that. Yeah. Gratitude for self, gratitude for others, and gratitude for the greater community and the overall beneficial of good around us.
Yeah,
Would that be fair to say?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
cool.
look, that's kind of how I've been working for a long time. The idea of somebody coming in when I was in a place of need to really help me get through that moment, I paid it forward and I continued to pay it forward. And ultimately, I am in complete and utter gratitude for the gifts that I've received to become the posture queen I am today. And I just can't see an end to wanting to give. It's a gift to the world that keeps giving back to me. And so I can't stop, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Certainly gets addictive, doesn't it? Particularly when we come from a posture and an energetic stance of conviction and clarity.
Yeah,
Of
absolutely. And some people feel like, oh, I just give all the time and I don't get anything in return. And that's not the art of giving that we're talking about. Yeah. Because there are boundaries there. And so
Exactly.
we're talking about the art of giving that is within your capacity, within your boundaries, that isn't draining you, that is benefiting you, but really benefiting someone else because, yes, it's coming from gratitude and it's coming from love with no expectation.
Yeah, exactly.
And eventually, if you're giving too much with expectation, you're just depleting yourself.
Yeah, and depletions can lead to burnout, and that's where we want to be aware of at all times, yeah? If someone's listening right now who feels like they're small, bent over by life, burnt out, what would you say to them?
Yes, you are right. It sounds shocking, doesn't it? Do you want to feel small? Do you want to feel burnout? Because first you have to decide you don't want it. Okay? So in that space of really feeling at your lowest, you have to turn away from the darkness and find the light. And that could be reaching out to a person. It could be changing the way you stand. It could be changing what you eat. It could be dumping all your friends because they do nothing good for you. And I did that once. I was in that space. I overdosed. I decided I was done and I didn't want to be here anymore. So when I woke up, I said, it's time for a change. And I had to make the decision that I didn't want to be that way anymore. And when I made that decision, I lost all my friends because they were the friends that fed me the drugs and they were the friends that fed into the life that I previously was living and I didn't want it anymore. And it was awesome. Like it was sad. Of course, I'm going to feel the loss and feel a bit of loneliness, but yet free. I was free to see what life was really like. And so that person who's there right now, they just have to make a decision. They don't want to be there anymore. And do the things, do some action to help them get away from whatever that is.
It's taking action to improve your life, to change, whatever that first step would be, to break the state. What's one truth about posture that everyone needs to hear? I've got to bring this home a little bit.
I'd say that one truth about posture is your spine dictates your longevity. Yeah. The better we can treat our spine, which is by looking after and supporting our posture and our alignment, the more our nervous system can handle the stresses and, challenges that we put on ourselves. So
very much so,
spine.
yeah. All about the spine, and the back's an important pivot to what is the most important pivot of our body, something that needs to be looked after.
And they say, get a backbone, stand up to a bully.
Yeah.
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 They're talking about having a strong back and a strong spine, because if a bully's pushing you around and you're not strong, you're going to fall down, right? We've been taught this for years in the subtlety and the language. And it really does come down to the vertebrae stack on top of each other so that we can move. But if we damage the muscles and damage the alignment of the vertebra, we're damaging the nervous system, our organs, our endocrine system, our lymphatic system. Everything is impacted by that. There is nothing that isn't impacted. So be nice to your spine. Give it as much rest as you can by moving more and, recognizing that we need some decompression there. And, we need to actually take some stress off of it sometimes.
Look after our back because we've only got one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where can people learn more about your work and follow your passion?
Well,
your
I'd
mission.
love to introduce people to the world of spinopractic. I've been wanting to share that with the world. So they can go to spinopracticmassageacademy.com.au. They can find us at spinefirst.com. And the word spinopractic is spelled SPINOPRACTIC. And a lot of people confuse it with chiropractic, but it's definitely not that. We are practitioners who recognize the beauty and the importance of the spine. And we help support that because the muscle structure, the tendons and ligaments and everything that holds the fascia is what supports our bones. So if we want a healthy spine, we have to keep a healthy body.
Exactly right. And are you on any socials at all? Could people reach out to you on, say, Meta or Instagram or anything like that? Or
Oh, yes, you can find the Spinopractic on TikTok even. You can find Posture Queen on Facebook, on Instagram, Be Yours as well. It has a page. We've got a private groups where people can have a safe space to share. And yeah, easy searches.
brilliant. Awesome. So posture isn't about looking strong. It's about being aligned. And alignment, as Holly said, is leadership. Because when you stand tall in who you are, the world feels it. And we need to feel more in this day and age of leadership, not just say more and pull up on the doing, because we're doing too much of doing without being, yeah? That's the standard we live here by the Legacy Forge. So if you're ready to rise, check all the links below. I'll provide all the links below in the show notes. Follow Holly, and remember, your legacy isn't what you leave, it's what you live right now. Is that fair to say?
Love it.
Brilliant.
Absolutely love it. Why be a leader of something you don't live yourself?
Exactly. All righty. So thank you very much. That concludes episode 6 of this podcast on the Legacy Forge, standing tall in your presence. Thank you for joining me, Holly, on this endeavor. And until the next episode, we will speak to you soon.
Thank you so much, Craig. It's been an amazing experience. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. Bye for now.
Bye.